While I'm recording this, Halloween is coming up, and so a lot of you might have thought about watching a horror movie. But given that you're watching this video, you're probably wondering if it's a sin to watch horror. Unlike other genres of movies, horror can be a little more complicated, especially given its overall nature. So let's break down some of the things that we need to be careful of as Christians who are considering watching it. Firstly, let's talk about the different types of horror movies. I've put them into three subcategories: supernatural, slasher, and monster horror. Obviously there are more different types, but I would say that these are the main popular ones, and we also don't have the time to cover every single subgenre of horror that exists. So, supernatural. These often involve demons, possessions, and exorcisms. Slasher. This is usually when you have a masked killer chasing the characters around with a knife. And finally, monster horror. These include made-up creatures such as zombies, aliens, and vampires. So let's start off with supernatural horror. The main thing to be careful of when you're watching stuff that involves demons and possessions is whether or not they represent reality. What do I mean by this? We know as Christians that demons are in fact real. So if a movie presents demonic things in a false way, like making them look funny or harmless, then that can be spiritually dangerous. But if the movie portrays evil as truly evil and good as good, then that's good. This is because it adheres to reality. And when the good becomes victorious over the evil in the movie, then that's something that reinforces the Christian worldview. In fact, it ultimately shows the power of Christ over demons, which can actually help strengthen our faith. Also, it can serve to remind us of how disgusting and evil demons really are, and that the good will ultimately be victorious, which should hopefully pull us away from what's evil towards what is good, that being our Lord Jesus Christ. Next, we have slashers. As we said, this one often involves a masked killer, so movies like Scream and Friday the 13th. The main focus now is not on demons and the spiritual world, but on human violence and murder. A big misconception that I think a lot of Christians have is that if a movie involves violence, then you shouldn't watch it. But there's actually nothing inherently wrong with including violence in movies. The film The Passion of the Christ is about Jesus' crucifixion, and let me tell you, it has a lot of blood and violence. But this serves to portray a reality and to confront us with the true cost of sin and the depth of Christ's love. A time where violence does become bad to watch is when it is glorified in any way. So, for example, if a movie was to make the killer the good guy and justify his actions, or portray murdering people in a funny way, then that would be something to stay away from. This is because it can desensitize us to human suffering and make it seem like killing people is funny. To put all of this simply, if a movie portrays violence to be something that is evil, then that's not a problem. But if it justifies murder and uses the killing to be something that is humorous in the movie, then don't watch it. Finally, we have monster horror. So as we said, stuff like zombies, werewolves, vampires, and aliens. The key thing to realize is that these are not real. We know that the boogeyman hiding under your bed does not exist. So movies can't exactly portray monsters in a false way because, well, they're not real. With the case for supernatural horror, where it is important to depict demons in an accurate manner because they are real, that's not the case for how movies can depict monsters. In my opinion, as long as evil is not justified, like violence and murder, I don't see anything inherently wrong with watching a zombie apocalypse movie or alien invasion. Anyway, these movies usually show the monsters to be evil and the humans trying to eradicate the evil, so that's good. Now, even if watching specific types of horror isn't inherently wrong, there are still some factors that we have to consider before deciding whether or not to watch a particular movie. So here are some questions that you should ask yourself before watching horror. Number 1. How will it affect you? So for me personally, I know that whenever I watch a movie that involves scary looking demons, possessed dolls, or one that involves a scene where there's a rocking chair moving back and forth by itself, the shock and fear stays with me even after the movie is finished. I would go back to being scared of the dark and not wanting to go downstairs by myself at night, which will usually last a couple of days. I know I'm exposing myself here, but this is a very important thing to consider. If you're like me and you know that your conscience can't handle certain types of horror, or maybe you can't handle jump scares, then you shouldn't watch it. Being in a state of fear after a horror movie is not a good thing. It can shift your focus away from God towards the thing that you're overly fearful about, which can disrupt your peace. That's why it's important to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. Some other examples of things that might affect some people more than others is gore, so seeing blood and like the insides of a person's body, jump scares like we said, exorcisms, and maybe even seeing specific types of creatures. So maybe a person gets scared only when they see zombies, or like that image of a young girl in a white dress with her hair covering like the front of her face. Yeah, that one really gets to me. Anyway, the point is, know your limitations and what your conscience can handle. Question number 2. Does it mock God? At this time, there's apparently a new horror movie coming out called The Carpenter's Son, which is apparently about Jesus using his powers for evil. Now, I don't think I need to explain to you why that's absolutely stupid, but the point is this: if any movie attempts to make God seem like someone he's not, and especially if it tries to make him seem like the bad guy, then do not watch it. Question number 3. Does it glorify evil? To put this simply, if a movie tries to make that which is good seem evil, or that which is evil seem good or moral, then stay away from those. We briefly mentioned this when we talked about slashers, where if they justify murder or violence, then that's bad. The same idea applies if a movie was to make the devil the good guy, or make demonic spirits seem friendly, or if they made the demons end up winning in the end. Now, all of these are bad because they manipulate the truth. If someone without a discerning mind was to watch a horror movie where the devil was the good guy, it might give them a false idea of who the devil really is and how evil he actually is. So what's important is that a movie should portray what's good to be good and what's bad to be bad in order to maintain truthfulness. As viewers, we have to make sure that we are always aware of these things, because sometimes it might even happen in movies we don't expect it. Question number 4. Why are you watching it? Honestly, this question doesn't just apply to horror movies, but to any type of movie. Asking yourself this is a good way to reflect before coming to a final decision on whether you choose to watch something. So I'll give myself as an example. Personally, I like watching mysteries because I find it fun to try and figure out who the culprit is. So when I choose to watch a movie that involves a masked killer, I'm basically in it for the mystery. And as long as I know that the movie doesn't negatively affect my conscience, mocks God, or glorifies evil, then I'm fine to watch it. However, let's say another person wants to watch the same movie, but a reason that they're watching it is because they like seeing people getting killed. Now that would be a completely different story, because now the issue isn't about the movie. It's about what's going on inside the person's heart. So if they were to watch it, it could further desensitize their brain to human suffering, which obviously isn't good. Also, I would say that this person needs some serious reflecting to do if that really was the case. Anyway, another very important thing to remember is to be honest with yourself, because sometimes you might lie to yourself saying that this is the reason you're watching something, when in reality, this is the real reason. And people might often lie to themselves just so that they can have the excuse to watch a particular movie. So it doesn't matter if the movie isn't inherently wrong to watch. If the reason you're watching it is a bad reason, then that should be enough not to watch it. Finally, if after considering everything, you still feel a bit off when trying to decide on whether or not to watch that horror movie, then just don't watch it. Problem solved. Anyway, if you find the video valuable, remember to like and subscribe for more. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.